Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Force Chatter. We are back to talk the book. Well, I guess it's supposed to be the book of Boba Fett still, right?
Yeah. He was named in the episode.
As long as he's mentioned.
The book of Mandalorian, Chapter 5, Season 3, Episode 1, or whatever. Yeah.
To your point, Tom, I am mentioned in a Star Wars book. There's an extra letter in the name. But Erica Blythe in the first of the High Republic novels.
Yeah.
So I guess that means that's the book of
You're
Eric.
canon. You're canon now.
Yeah, it is.
Like shot out of one. All right. So this is Force Chatter, and we are going to discuss the book of Boba Fett. Though this week, it's more the book of the Mandalorian or the book of Din Djarin. People still don't call him by his name. They just say the Mandalorian as if he's the only one. And we have countless others now.
I mean, I still call him the Mandalorian, but
why?
I know he's not the only one.
Call
but
him Din
that's his
Djarin.
show.
He has a name, Lou.
I know he does.
Well,
so does the child, too. I still call him the child. I don't know.
There are more children in the world than just that one, Lou. Just saying.
No. Can we talk about something before we get into the episode, though? I feel cheated out of an episode of Boba Fett. I mean, I love what we got.
Yeah.
I just feel cheated that we, I don't know. I wish we had.
It's funny because this is a great episode, and yet
it was fantastic.
There's still a lot to kind of complain about a little bit. The first being, we've had 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. We finally, 40 years, we get Boba Fett, except we don't. We get The Mandalorian. We only had 7 episodes going into it, and we're like, okay, well, at least 7's better than 6. No, we got 6.
Yeah.
It's hard to complain because it was a good episode, but this really would have been like one of the best episodes ever of The Mandalorian, which, by the way, is coming back. So they could have, done this later, had this be a flashback episode, except I think that there is one important thing that's going to happen maybe that this needed to set up, but then I still think they should have put it in the last season then. But we'll come back to that near the end of the episode. So, Eric, Lou, Tom, Tim, welcome. This is going to cover episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, Return of the Mandalorian. A little on the nose there. Mm-hmm. This is 51
really
minutes.
Well named.
Yeah, aptly named. 51 minutes long, including credits this time because I was lazy and didn't see how much actual airtime we got. So... yeah, but okay. So Mediocre Modeler in the chat room said, to be fair, we had an Ahsoka episode in The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian was also in that episode.
Yeah, he was still featured fairly prominently in the episode.
Yeah, yeah, he was still there. Just saying.
Yeah.
But I get your point, and I think this will all tie together eventually. We just have to get to the eventually part. But first, we're going to break down the episode. We're going to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, kind of take a look at where things are going. We talk about how much time was spent in flashbacks each show. This one's a little harder. It was either 42 seconds or it was the whole freaking episode all the way to the end. Depends on how you want to look at it.
A certain point of view.
Point of view, indeed. Yeah. Directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, who did an incredible job, as always.
Yeah.
And it's funny.
She's fantastic. She really is a great director. I've been thrilled with everything that she's done. The episodes out of the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian have just been fantastic that she's done. And please bring more.
Each thing that she's done, each episode that she's come to, she's stepped up in each one of them. She's improved. I think my love of each of the episodes has increased. And the neat thing is, I don't go looking up the director of each episode before the episode, so it's always a surprise when that credit rolls, and I get that feeling without knowing that she's behind it. Like, right. Oh, this was really, really good. Oh, it happened to be Bryce. Of course,
surprise.
Yeah.
She's one of the best directors that they utilize, in this rotation.
I would agree with that. The description on Disney Plus for this. Because they always keep them nice and short and simple as to not spoil anything. An unexpected ally emerges.
Boom.
Really?
Who didn't expect that?
Huge spoiler. Huge.
This person's never been on the internet. Whoever wrote this. It was about as expected as you could possibly get. Plus,
But look,
then they like.
I mean, they played his theme
broadcast
music
it
in
at
the
the end of the
last
last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
you could have gotten concussed in a fake lightsaber fight between the end of the last season of The Mandalorian and now, and just forgotten everything.
Yeah.
And to those people, it would have been unexpected.
That's true. And if you didn't understand the music cue at the end of the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right. So this episode opens in a chop shop. That's a car thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Meat factory? I think that's something else, too. It opens in a butcher shop.
This opened up. I expected to see Rocky.
Did you?
Oh, absolutely.
I expected to see some of the Sopranos walk through.
The Sopranos also works well. It totally had a Rocky vibe to me. I was, I was expecting to see him hauling.
I did like the
around
difference,
and
somebody said no in one of the concept art pieces at the end. You saw that originally it was conceptualized as like bantha heads or some animal head that clearly didn't make the cut, and we got just your standard carcass.
Right.
So
yes.
the carcasses apparently were supposed to be Nerfs.
Okay.
Smaller
I guess they
carcasses.
were Nerf heads then.
Okay.
About that right size. Interestingly, one of the developers from the 1313 video game got on Twitter and talked about how thrilled they were that so many of the concepts from 1313 made it into The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
Good.
And one of the things was this specific shot. Apparently was in 1313. They were tauntaun carcasses, I think.
Okay.
But,
that's cool.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, too bad for the tauntauns, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know.
And probably pretty smelly too, because tauntauns. So Din Djarin walks through. He shows up to collect a bounty on Kaba Baez. Uses the Darksaber badly. Burns his leg badly.
But also with some severe badassery. I mean, he's cleaving people like apart.
Yeah.
Like viciously.
Including like slicing through one of the frozen carcasses there too. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty
Say
slick.
though, every time he walks into a fight, he gets his butt kicked for like the first 30 seconds. Like he makes some of the stupidest mistakes. He pulls his blaster out. The guy bites him on the thumb.
Oh,
I mean, come on. How lame are you as a Mandalorian?
Back then, I'm like, did he get his shots? Is it tetanus or anything?
Right.
Or,
Like you're letting the guy bite your hand. You've got a blaster at him and he bites your thumb. I mean,
yeah.
Come on, talk about rookie mistake.
The guy was like quick to get on his thumb too. He came
that's
out of
true.
nowhere. It was like, wow, that was a pretty quick move. But
yeah,
and I guess like he did not have to cut Kaba Baez in half.
No, that was
the
guy was already
was
down.
already dead.
Yeah,
that was a bonus.
The whole all right, just because it's easier to carry around, gonna cut his head off. That's fine, but he cuts him in half and then cuts his head off. Like,
yeah,
Din had enough of this crap. He was done.
Yeah,
he was pissed.
He was making a point.
Yeah.
Why
so after he burned his leg, why didn't he use his spear as a cane? Like he's got this javelin just sitting there not doing anything except getting in the way.
It's against his religion to use it like that.
Yeah.
Because it looks cool. Be.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that one. All right. So he chops off the head after chopping the body in half. Maybe it makes it easier to chop the head off that way. I don't know. I haven't tried that yet. Gets the head. Leaves, goes to turn it in. Flies out to, I believe it's called Halo.
Yeah. You saw a little glimpse of Master Chief walking around.
Covenant driving around in the little buggies and hover tanks. Or if I got that.
It was a cool. For all the people that were complaining about being stuck on Tatooine, this was a cool glimpse at somewhere completely different.
It was nice.
I loved it.
I thought it was very.
It was very nice to get
neat.
off Tatooine. I saw not a bit of sand. on that whole station. I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and this is the first reference of a ring station in Star Wars, I think, right? Have there been any others?
Yeah.
Tom, our resident trivia expert, have you heard of any?
Certainly not visually.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really cool. Like, it was beautiful to see. It was really, really neat. I liked it a lot.
I especially love that we got to see sort of both levels of it, and sort of in a part we'll get to in a minute, the underbelly of it was really neat to see. So,
yeah, it was, and we got some nice flybys of it too in some of the establishing shots. And the day-night cycles seem to go pretty fast. It's like you have an hour of daylight and an hour of night. Like those little panels that switch up the day and night things moved pretty quickly.
Yeah, a little too quickly, I think.
Yeah, that was a little weird, but oh well.
I mean, it's hard to tell how big that is, though, because if that thing, circles in a star, basically in the orbit of a planet, it's a big ring.
Is there a star in the middle of it, though? It could just be artificial lighting set up. I don't remember there being.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
if it was that close to a star, I think that the star would have had to have either been a tiny star, or it would have fried everybody on it, and been.
The whole thing would have been lit up.
Very cool, though. I love that station, and we get a cool shot too, because once we get on the station, we get one continuous shot with no cuts. As he leaves one level, gets on an elevator, and goes up to another level. Practical effects and everything. There's a table. He talks to the Ishi-Tib Guildmaster. Mm-hmm. That whole discussion, no cuts. He goes back, he gets back on the elevator and goes back down again. No cuts. It's like over 2 minutes with no cuts.
The creature in the elevator, when he goes up and he's got the bag in the head that's like dripping blood all over the place, and his legs all screwed up and everything, and the dude just like kind of looks over at him, and then Din like looks, and the dude's like, "Nope, I'm not looking. I'm not looking. Yep. Nope, never saw you." Alien It was a great comedic little moment. It was like 8 seconds long, and it was fantastic.
We saw quite a few aliens in this that are throwbacks to stuff we've seen before. Between the Ishi-Tib as the Guildmaster, which I believe those were seen in Return of the Jedi. We had a Chatter fan. We had, not an Aqualish, a Quarren.
Yep, at the table.
And there was one other I'm forgetting. But, I mean, we had a good selection of recognizable alien species there. And I guess I kind of felt like that was something in episode 7. Why didn't they give us some of those floating around instead of like every single alien in Maz Kanata's castle was completely new? Except like one. So I like this. I like that they're making it feel more like the Star Wars that we know.
Yeah.
So he needs access to the substrata. He desperately needs a Bacta tank. Like, I tell you what, for all the people complaining about Boba Fett and his Bacta tank, it's kind of a must-have item, I think, if you're wearing Beskar. Like, if you're a Mandalorian, you need a Bacta tank.
Yeah, can't even afford like a spray can of Bacta at this point.
Yeah, like I have one of those in my car, and dude can't just carry one in his backpack or something. I mean, come on.
Bacta, whatever, same stuff.
You would think that the armor would have some sort of like internal Bacta dispersion system.
Right? The armor doesn't even have oxygen, so you're asking for a lot there.
Maybe the armor needs some upgrades.
It might, yeah.
All right. So we get down to the covert. And this is where we get a lot of the meat of the episode. So we see Paz Vizsla in the armor.
No. The meat we had in the previous.
Well, there's meat and there's meat. That was the meat of the world, and this is the meat of the story. I don't know. Okay, bad analogy. You're right. But this is where we get a lot of the lore and kind of the direction setting going forward. So only Paz Vizsla and the armorer survived.
Yeah. Not much. That was a hefty massacre for him to get off of Navarro.
Yep. And Paz Vizsla's just as grumpy as ever. We get some exposition on the Darksaber. I think we talked about this a little bit before, because a lot of this was established either in Clone Wars, Rebels. I don't think it's really hit the comics that I know of.
Get a little bit in the Maul,
Okay.
the Maul comic that was brought over from Dark Horse that was canonized.
Okay.
But not a ton there.
All right. So it's been around for 1,000 years. It was forged by Tar Vizsla, a Jedi Mandalorian. And as we know from the end of Mandalorian Season 2, whoever wields the Darksaber is the rightful ruler of Mandalore as long as they won it in combat.
And that's a new little bit, because there was this big build-up moment, if folks who watch Star Wars Rebels remember, and Bo-Katan gets the blade from Sabine. Sabine. Excuse me. And there's this whole moment where she holds it over her head, and the surviving Mandalorians sort of all kneel to her, and there's this understanding, at least in that scene, that she's got it, and there's no question about whether she's rightfully the heir.
And you would have thought one of those guys would have stood up and said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have a question. Is that right? Should you really have that?" You would have thought.
Well, it may not be.
Up.
I think there's some serious divisions in Mandalorian culture that we're continuing to see deepen here, because they have a very different interpretation of like how that all went.
Yeah.
Clearly some blame has been laid at Bo-Katan's feet.
Well, and we're seeing even more of the power of the armorer as a spiritual leader. Also, even though she no longer really has many followers, but her philosophies, which are kind of quasi-religious, really very strict in terms of how they perceive a lot
very
of these
fitting
things.
Of the Death Watch. And you're talking about the character with the golden helmet, right? With the little Darth Maul like spikes around the top? Question mark? Yeah, I'm wondering if that's not going to have some relevance at some point. It cannot be a coincidence that a Mandalorian helmet, especially the person who is the leader of this group, happens to have Zabrak-like horns. And Darth Maul used to run this opposition group to Bo-Katan's group and took over Mandalore, et cetera, et cetera. And then who's to blame?
There was a female in that group.
Who's to blame by the armorer for the destruction of Mandalore? Not Darth Maul, Bo-Katan.
Yep. And there was a female in that group, if you remember your Clone Wars Season 7 history.
I don't. I only watched it once. I need to rewatch it.
So there's a character that they spent a good bit of time on. She appeared in that Dark Horse comic with Maul and helped him escape the prison that Palpatine put him in after their duel on Mandalore. And then she popped back up in, I think she was in Star Wars Rebels as well, but she was definitely in Season 7 of the Clone Wars. So her name is Rook. Fanatical member of the Death Watch, splinters off, and I'm not going to claim, this isn't my theory. I didn't originate this, but there's some speculation that Rook became the armorer, and the pieces sort of fit. It would make sense for a character that that amount of time was spent in past properties to bring her forward and fit her into the puzzle like this. But we'll see. Yeah, could be a completely new character.
Yeah.
So either way,
interesting.
Depending on which side of the conspiracy theory, I guess we'll call it, you fall. She may have ties to Maul. She may not. We don't know. We'll find out. Yeah. Or we won't. We don't know that either.
Yeah, we won't.
We may never find out.
I don't think.
Right. But it does seem like a bit of a coincidence for them to design the helmet, as particular as they are about design work in the Filoni-verse in general. Seems a bit odd that you'd have Darth Maul like spikes or horns coming out of that helmet and not have some sort of connection. Just saying.
When what's the need for Paz has a name. His identity has been revealed. There's got to be a purpose behind keeping her identity shrouded in mystery.
Right.
That's not done accidentally. If they're naming a character like Paz Vizsla and all these other ancillary characters, she has an identity. They're just deploying it very intentionally at a certain moment. It's not going to be in this season. No. Probably, a future Mando season, or maybe some other spinoff that is in the works.
But Paz is a Vizsla.
Yeah.
If you look at the lore that Filoni himself helped create, he should be the guy in charge.
Yeah, that comes into direct play here.
Yeah.
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 So moving along with this, let's see. We get the songs of eons past foretold of the mythosaur rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore. Sadly, it only exists in legends, and legends are not canon.
Which I just thought was that statement, which he said, sadly, it's just legends. Like, that just grabbed me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. That is great writing.
So, any meaning behind this? So, Boba Fett's family crest has been the mythosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Fett rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore. And we keep seeing things, quote, in legends that are popping up, figuratively and literally. So we'll come back to that closer to the end of the episode where we speculate about where things are going forward here. But little interesting thing there. And for all of the different mythosaur-like graphics we've seen throughout the series, this one is specifically the one on that little locker she opens up where the camera kind of lingers on it, specifically is Boba Fett's family crest.
Yes. Which I thought was interesting and oddly placed.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's Omega.
That could be, but Omega didn't really have like the religious side of the armor and Paz has always felt like very orthodox, like very different than the approach that Omega took. It wouldn't surprise me if they view Django, for example, and his short, well, I guess long bloodline to be sort of the epicenter. We obviously don't know all of Django's like past in terms of a canonical sense, but he's from Concord. Is he from Concord Dawn or Concordia? Anyhow, it's at least canon that he's from Mandalore, basically, or Mandalore adjacent. So that's right. That's an interesting thought. They just presume that he's dead, or this is just her showing sort of like a little bit of pragmatism. Like, hey, we can't cling to every little fantasy that's out there. Yeah. We've got to do some things for survival as well.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't think the armor is Omega. But
that would be like earth-shattering if she took her helmet off and that's how
that would be. Yeah. I think Omega showed up a little late to be indoctrinated into that sort of thing, and then to be able to rise up within that quickly enough to be a leader.
Yeah.
And to your point, Tom, I think her personality type is just too radically different from that. I don't see that really being a thing. But so moving on, we have the Beskar spear. And it's pointed out that can pierce Beskar armor. So just in case anybody challenges you to the Darksaber, you should get rid of it. Get rid of the javelin. Because if the Darksaber can't pierce the armor, and that could, we got to make it a fair fight. So smelt the javelin down. We make a bunch of little ringy things, presumably a chainmail tunic of some sort for Grogu.
Keychains.
And then keychains, right? Because let me tell you, you go to Orlando, you can make a killing on Star Wars keychains. Or you set up an Etsy shop or something?
That's what he's trying to do. That was what his plan was.
Yeah. And then
get out of the bounty hunt.
They wrap it up in a little Grogu head with the ears.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was great.
Yeah. So there's that.
Although I can't wait to see Grogu in Beskar Chainmail. That's gonna be fantastic.
It's gonna look dumb.
No,
it's gonna look dumb. It's good. I mean,
they can't put him in armor. They got to have a tunic for him. So
chainmail in Star Wars.
This works really well because I've been working on chainmail for a while. I'm planning on making that part of my Mandalorian when I do the.
I like chainmail, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get you. You have a 3D printer now too. I gotta either get one, or get with some of you folks here and see what I got to do to start making Mando pieces.
Yeah, the chainmail I'm doing is actually chainmail. I'm making my own.
No,
chainmail.
I know you've been actually working with chainmail recently.
Yeah. But
I've done some little like jewelry size things with chainmail, but I know people have done like the actual armor sort of things for like the FCA and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see Grogu.
FCA, like the Beastie Boys, you mean? Sorry, never mind.
I can't wait to see Darth Grogu with like red eyes and a red lightsaber.
Is he Darth Jar Jar's apprentice, or is that okay?
Yes, yeah. Actually, he's going to wield 2 red lightsabers. Yeah, he's going to be pretty.
My
badass.
son sent me an internet rumor the other day about the upcoming Jar Jar series coming to Disney Plus called Binks.
I can't wait
to say, oh, dude, I'm so sorry, but that's not a thing. That's not real. Let me go tell Tim though. Tim will be excited, but no, that's not a thing.
I'm very excited. I've actually been signed on as a writer.
Have you contacted them about involvement yet? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've got some great story ideas.
You're looking at the showrunner.
They said, "Yeah, you want to do this? Here you go." In fact, let me call. I know somebody over at Paramount Plus. We'll put it on their network. Keep it away from Disney or Peacock. We'll send it over the Peacock network. Have at it, Tim. All right, so we get some exposition on Bo-Katan. So the Armorers sect was cloistered, there's a big word, cloistered on the moon of Concordia, which is one of Mandalore's moons. So Concordia and Concord Dawn are not related to one another in any way, right? Is Concord Dawn canon?
Different moons.
Like its existence as a location?
Yes.
It is? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 2 different locations.
Yeah.
Just similar names. Okay. So Concordia was spared the Great Purge and the Night of 1,000 Tears, where a bunch of TIE bombers went in and just nuked Mandalore. The Imperials couldn't even send stormtroopers down to clean up. They had to send down probe droids and KS units. So
it was some really cool imagery. It was very Terminator-esque.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was some really cool like post-apocalyptic stuff.
It does bring up a really important question. I don't know, like I'd have to look to
7.
see, is it 7?
7 is the answer.
I have to look to see the cost of building a TIE bomber. But I have to imagine you could build 800,000 or 900,000 TIE bombers and it would still be cheaper than a single Death Star.
But not
so if you can just go and turn planets to glass, do you really need a Death Star? Like, is that not enough like imposing terror on people that, and here's the other thing too, Death Star, you can kind of see it coming because it's bigger than the Millennium Falcon by a little bit. So like if you've got any sort of scanner at all, you can probably tell when it's approaching, right?
Yeah, but
you can't tell. People jump in from hyperspace with Star Destroyers and just start deploying TIE bombers en masse. You have like about an 8-minute warning before the whole planet just turns to glass. Rumor gets around about that. Yeah, nobody's stepping up against the Empire. You just saved yourself
and the thing is,
gazillion Imperial credits.
If you have a Star Destroyer, why is it that you need that many TIE bombers though? Because the original intent of the Star Destroyer, or one of the built intents of the Star Destroyer, is to do
planetary bombardment,
that massive aerial bombardment. I mean, we actually saw that in the Bad Batch when they walloped Kamino.
Right.
Maybe it's easier to spread out and get a larger, like, blanket the planet at once with a whole bunch of little things, like the swarm mentality, rather than having the, you know how many circles you'd have to do in that Star Destroyer to get the entire surface of the planet?
That's true. That's true. Nonetheless, I appreciated the imagery of the whole thing. I thought it was awesome. It was very dark. It was very imposing. It
was very poignant. So you see Sundari, the capital, that dome detonate.
Yeah.
The reason it's a dome is because the rest of the planet was rendered a wasteland because they fought and fought and fought. Yet Sundari endured until the Empire. And I love the line, for all its talk, the Empire lasted, 30 years or whatever she said.
Yeah.
And but that last sort of bastion, that symbol of Mandalore's endurance, just going up, that was an emotional moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
42 seconds of flashback. Yeah.
And that was it.
I would have been okay with a whole episode of Night of a Thousand Tears. I guess that's kind of gruesome, though. That's kind of like watching Titanic only for the ship sinking. Which,
fast
by the way,
all this crap.
Yeah, I did. That was me. I did that too. So, we get the chainmail tunic happen next, and then the training. So this is where people at our Discord server have been raking me over the coals because I don't get it. So the Darksaber, until you become attuned to it, and I'm okay with that concept, that aspect of it, you cannot wield it well, and that's fine. But apparently it has an immense physical weight that makes it difficult to physically lift. And to me, that does not make any sense in anything we know about Star Wars lore, about how the Force works, about
there was one
anything
thing
like that.
You
gonna cite the Star Wars Rebels episode?
No,
okay.
This goes back to old legend stuff.
Okay.
Where supposedly only a Force wielding Jedi could wield a lightsaber,
and Han Solo.
You needed to use the Force to actually control it.
And Han Solo.
Okay,
He didn't do it well. He just needed to swipe left.
Cold. It was like negative 80. I had to qualify in an M16 in like negative 20 degree temperatures when I was in North Dakota in the Air Force. And yeah, you're not doing anything with any level of grace in the snow when it comes to, you're not going to be Count Dooku out there doing the little swirly things. And yeah. Oh, and General Grievous, another one. Not a Force user. Thank you, Dan.
What I will bring up here is everyone, I'm sure remembers the theory of relativity equals MC squared. That is a formula of energy and mass. Mass is basically the calculation of what it takes to move something. So while energy doesn't have weight, it can still have mass to it. And so there could be something in how this Darksaber is developed that gives it an amount of mass.
So if you're going to quote the theory of relativity to me as an example of this, I need a little bit better explanation of how those variables match up to how lightsabers work, or even like lasers,
that's all I got.
Because those have energy.
That's all I got.
Radiation is a form of energy, and it doesn't necessarily have mass.
My whole purpose to this is to, at least within the bounds of Earth physics, to say, hey, there is a relationship between energy and mass. That's all. And so if you then Star Wars-ize that there's something in the the Darksaber that does make it in tune to its user and the intent or the skill or the whatever of its user. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with something.
Okay. So in the Rebels episode,
I just had
where Kanan's training Sabine, she's talking. She makes the statement, "It's heavier than I expected." Even then, she doesn't have any problem actually lifting it. She never physically responds as if it has physical weight, whereas like Din Djarin is literally dragging it across the floor, straining to pull it up into the air. Yeah. That was a little over the top to me. That's the part that doesn't make any sense.
I'll agree.
Light,
I'll agree.
Doesn't have weight. And then as people explain, well, it's not so much the light as it is like the kyber crystals getting heavier in the hilt. Okay, so that's I see where you're going with that. That's in a direction that doesn't make sense less than the light having weight does. Okay, how is the kyber crystal actually
Tom
getting
in the chat
heavier?
Just said our next podcast coming up is Science Chatter.
That's right.
Listen, and somebody else called me out on that. I think it was Frank in Discord. Said, yeah, so midichlorians and the Force and all that. Yeah, we definitely need to have everything explained scientifically. I'm like, wait a minute. There's a big difference between not needing a scientific explanation for a theological concept, a religious concept, and then light is heavy.
Physics.
One you don't need explained. One is like any second grader can tell you that that's not a thing. Like, anyway, I digress.
Tom, what you got?
No, I viewed it a lot as sort of in the realm of Excalibur, right? There's something that's special. This lightsaber isn't built by your average Jedi, right? And the hilt isn't anything that any Jedi has ever used for their hilt. It's not even the type of Beskar that a normal Jedi has. So we really don't know much at all about this weapon other than what's been revealed to us. So, there's probably some lore to it that's going to unfold and sort of fill in some of the blanks here. I just liked it as this weird Star Wars. I mean, when things like midichlorians got introduced into the world, suddenly we're looking, it like trains us to look for reasons behind stuff that we didn't used to question in Star Wars. It was just, it just was what it was, right? And we gobbled up whatever they were willing to give to us. So in this instance, I like the idea that as much as the Force is weird in ways that can bring Leia back to the Raddus in The Last Jedi, or can make blaster bolts avoid and not hit Chirrut Imwe in Rogue One.
That didn't bother me.
Well, no,
it didn't bother me.
It doesn't. You don't have to like it. I'm not trying to bring you around to the cause here, but I'm saying as I'm watching this, I'm viewing it as sort of this mental physical connection and this he's not synced at all with what's anything about that blade. I think Sabine was also differently situated than he was at the time where she was dueling Kanan, and it's manifesting. I love the line where he's like ready to try again because he's just that persistent.
Gideon is not Mandalorian, and both
he didn't
Sabine
fight well.
and Djarin are.
He got defeated almost immediately. He did about as well with that blade.
He never had a problem lifting it, and he's not exactly like Hulk Hogan or something like that, right? I mean, he's slender.
You saw him saw him ignite it once, and then he got defeated very, very quickly with the blade,
while wielding it with some level of ease. Now, I get that he's not going to be skilled with it
over time,
and he's not in tune with it. But he also didn't have a problem physically lifting it into the air. I think it's just like whatever concept it is they're trying to introduce, I feel like they went too far over the top with it.
Well, it was the fact that it got heavier with every time he swung it. So it was that kind of...
It happens over time.
Almost like it's a logarithmic scale where it got heavier with each time you used the weapon. Yeah. So, and we saw Gideon get taken out right away. It wasn't like he swung it once. So it's like, that's fine. I mean, this kind of thing to me, and like I think Tom's right. We didn't need this kind of stuff explained before, and I think it doesn't make sense, but I'm accepting it because it's what you're telling me.
It makes sense in Star Wars. I didn't really question it at all.
Okay.
It was just one of those.
Maybe
Oh,
it's
okay,
just
it's a
me.
Star Wars
See,
thing.
and to me, I'm
like,
not
that's cool.
out searching. This isn't like, to me, it's not like I'm nitpicking about, how does an A-wing with smaller engines go faster than a Y-wing with bigger engines? Like, I'm not trying to find things to nitpick.
That's a valid.
But it doesn't matter because I don't care, because it doesn't matter. And this is one of those things, to me, I guess, it's just so silly and goofy and weird and nonsensical that it breaks that little piece of lore for me. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Like the spiritual side of things and stuff, and you not being able to wield it well, I'm down with that. I get it. And I got it in the episode with Sabine and Kanan. And it was like, huh? I can't wrap my brain around how that makes sense here. And maybe they'll explain more about it down the road, and we'll find out the way in which a Darksaber is different from a normal lightsaber, or we'll find out it's not, and this is just some weird thing that we're supposed to ignore. But I've never had a thing like this in Star Wars before that's been this hard for me to wrap my brain around. Midichlorian's fine. Leia and the so-called Superman maneuvers she didn't bother me. I didn't even blink. I didn't even know it was a thing until I got on the internet after the movie was released. All those things, don't care. It doesn't bother me because there are ways to explain it. Nothing seems to make sense about this. But I'll agree to disagree and climb out of this rabbit hole here.
Okay.
But a good line here from the armor during the training: persistence without insight will lead to the same outcome. I just like that line.
Yeah.
Kind of like, bashing your head against a brick wall doesn't get you through the brick wall. It just gives you a headache.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the whole doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah,
it's
epitome of stupidity.
All in the same vein, yeah.
Yep. All right, so the duel. I guess, I don't know, Favreau wanted his prop back. Is that what this is? Because, Jon Favreau plays Pax Vizsla. And Jon Favreau, as he stated before on the behind-the-scenes stuff, if you're the showrunner, you get to keep the props. He wanted his prop back. So we get the battle. Battle wasn't bad. I like that little shield thing he's got on his arm. I want one of those.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that was all right. That was a pretty decent battle.
That's Gungan technology. I mean,
proud of that one, huh? The Gungans had to be good for something.
They developed a lot of fantastic
unless they
things.
appropriated it from someone else.
No.
Cannon fodder.
Gungans hardly traveled off world.
They found something floating in the swamps and reverse engineered it.
Me said I don't like where you're going.
Somebody on Naboo, one of the humans up there, had one and said, "We're pacifists. What do we need this for?" And they threw it in the swamp. And then Jar Jar showed up and brought it down to Boss Blubbery Jaws.
Boss Nast.
And said, "Hey, look what Misa has." And then they reverse engineered it and they took credit for it because they're Gungans.
I like that in the scene, they take their jetpacks off.
Yeah.
And you get the immediate, because Din gets knocked off the platform against the armor and kind of comes right back up.
Great,
and
right.
all of a sudden you're like, oh dear, don't fall off this time.
I was really upset because I knew they weren't going to kill Din. And I don't want them to kill Vizsla because that's like the coolest Mandalorian armor yet.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see that go away.
Dan in the chat here brings up something cool about the Darksaber. He says, use it like a sword, no problem. Use it as a symbol of Mandalorian rule, and you need to prove yourself to it.
But okay, so that would make sense. But was that really how Din was trying to use it as the armor was training him? I don't think Din is trying to run anything.
Yeah, but as Din winning it in combat, now he has a new potential role, maybe. Yeah, no.
Did Sabine win it in combat?
Yes.
Okay.
Against Is it Fen Rao's brother?
Okay.
Tom, just remember, point to the belt.
Yeah. I don't remember, but if I'm on stage and there's a timer, I'll remember, and I have the proof right here. All right. So, Din Djarin, unfortunately, at some point, may have possibly taken his helmet off somewhat, maybe kind of. And
it's just like the best moment.
We saw it. Yeah.
I mean, pictures or it didn't happen. Yeah.
We have video of it happening.
Well,
I cannot tell a lie. I cannot tell a lie.
I didn't see that episode. So
yeah, but he owned up. He asked me.
He did own up.
Yeah, I did.
He has integrity.
He could have. I'm like, this is like the whole thing of when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. When someone asks you if you take a helmet off, you say no.
So he's been kicked out. A Mandalorian no more. And one may only be redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore. So we were talking before about how does Din Djarin end up showing up in season 3, helping Bo-Katan take Mandalore back? Because we were speculating on what season 3 might be about, right? Like, well, we have this whole storyline over here for a different character. And we have the Ahsoka trying to hunt down Thrawn storyline for a different character. Mm-hmm. And then Mando gives up Grogu. He's going to go home and see what's on Netflix.
His keychain business has to take off.
He's got to set up that Etsy store.
Yeah.
So now we have a direct, specific motivation for him to be involved in the retaking of Mandalore in possibly season 3 of The Mandalorian. Given that we only get like 2.5 episodes a season now, I think it's probably going to be preparing for it. And then there's going to be some big like crossover event or something later.
Yeah, but there's been some speculation about a possible Bo-Katan series, but it's probably for another discussion.
I would not complain about that. So we have no Razor Crest because Lucasfilm hates me.
My toy of it hasn't even arrived yet from Hasbro.
Really?
And now I just want them to change it.
Here's mine. I got the little minifig thing the other day.
Nice.
Yeah, that's about as I was gonna get the big $130 one, but
Eric, if you want it to be more screen accurate, stand on top of your desk, throw it on the floor violently, and then stomp on it. And that's much more actually apt to how it looks like.
We do a video show, so I can't give you the normal hand and arm signals that I
well, that was like the advent calendar this year for Lego. Day 1 was a Razor Crest, and I think everybody posted on Instagram just the package open pieces dropping on the ground. Here it is. Look, day 1 of the advent calendar.
I didn't get the advent calendar this year.
It was good this year. I liked it. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, maybe I'll have to see if I can find one on eBay.
So anyway, so he doesn't have a ship. He's got to fly. Coach.
Got to check his weapons.
You do not want to get behind this guy at TSA because, oh my God, this guy doesn't know how to fly. I got this. I got this. Oh, I got this down here. I forgot
Did he really have to take the grappling rope out? Like, he probably could have left that in. It's not necessarily
that was my favorite part. Probably. He just unspools it all.
I like
you mentioned spooling it back up.
Take all his stuff, but leave him with his armor, and he can do some damage with just the armor, I think.
And I still wouldn't have turned over the Darksaber. I guess it's Legends. I don't know that it's happening canon yet, but lightsabers aren't supposed to show up in weapon scans. At least there have been several things in Legends where it did not. So I don't know. But, Legends, as the armorer says. So, no weapons on Starliner travel. Is that the same? That's not the same thing as Star Tours, is it? The same brand?
I think so.
Okay. At least he gets his stuff back when he arrives on Tatooine from another droid who's kind of glitching out. And then I was so excited. by the next scene because Pelimato, and we get a BD droid, which I love BD droids, and a Womp Rat grabs it, and then my heart sank. And then Pelimoto goes in to save the day. My heart sank even more because I'm like, oh, come on. But then
it was a great scene. It was
the
funny.
Womp Rat gets
really
her.
Well done.
And I'm literally cheering out loud at the screen. And like, I don't even cheer at sporting events. Okay? Cheering out loud at the screen. And she goes to get the blaster. She can't reach it. I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you, Lucasfilm. Thank you. And then all of a sudden, Din Djarin walks in and ruins it.
He saved the
day.
day.
He did what?
Yeah. He's a hero.
No.
He is a
because
hero.
she's still alive.
I like Peli. I
She's
think she's
cool.
I like her as Womp Rat food.
Yeah, I do too.
She had more lines of dialogue in this episode
It was
than
great.
the Mandalorian title character had over 2 seasons. I counted.
I don't mind it.
Although okay, so back to the Mandalorian's lines.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the rat
We
catcher
did get
droid.
my favorite line from him again. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
But then again, I mean, but
Yeah.
I do like Peli. I mean, she has some great
my
lines. Her
gosh.
comedy is good. I mean, everything except
Yeah.
for the Jawas being furry and her going, and spitting fur.
That
I'm like,
poor
no,
Jawa.
No. I don't
Oh my
wanna
gosh,
know
I felt
about
so
that.
bad for him.
No, I felt bad for her.
Really
I'm like,
furry.
Oh,
they're
no, I feel
furry.
bad for the
I don't wanna
Jawa.
know. I don't want to know.
Wow.
I like that she talks to she holds her ground against Mando. She checks him
Yeah.
where other people just are intimidated by him or whatever. She talks to him like he's a normal person. And my favorite moment out of all of it is as they've got the ship together and Mando kind of does a walkthrough and he's a little bit hesitant. He's like, what do you think? Should we fire it? She's like, get in there, fire it up. Like, his hesitancy is met with her enthusiasm. And I just I love
like
her
any good
confidence
used
in
car
her
salesman.
Right. I'm thinking you don't want to do a pre-flight. You don't want to check something
Right.
out.
You blow up in this.
Is there a
The credits are
checklist?
still-
Diagnostics? For me, this scene had some of the second worst things in Star Wars. So Pelimato is the second most annoying character in Star Wars, behind Joe Yauza from the music video
That's
in Return of the Jedi.
that's extreme.
It is.
That's
It
extreme.
was very extreme, and I fast forward it through that part of the movie every time. Oh, you mean the accusation was extreme?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
it was
that's
meant to
I'll
be.
take her over C-3PO any day of the week.
Come on.
Oh, that's a tight competition. Oh, wow. I'll have to think that one over. Okay. Here's the other thing. I'm not the biggest fan of Y-Wings. The N1 Naboo Starfighter, I used to dislike more than Y-Wings. I think now
Really?
maybe I dislike it less, but just like it's neck and neck. Anybody else in the chat room? What do you guys think of N1s?
What's wrong with the N1?
It is one of the
Nothing wrong with the
ugliest
N1.
designed starfighters ever.
No.
Even when the Phantom Menace came out, I
Oh,
saw
come
the
on.
design for this, like before the
I
movie.
didn't care for the color, but
The
I like
color
ship
is
design.
the worst. So that actually
somewhere back.
is probably a big part of it.
Yeah. See, Tom's got one right there. Look at that.
But
there we
yeah,
go.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Quality ship right there.
It's disgusting.
I like it.
I really had the N1, or was that really hate the N1? Okay, yeah, he corrected himself. Hate. See, I'm not alone. Ugly is irrelevant.
And then Fetmatic says,
which
ugly
means
is
Fetmatic
irrelevant.
does not
That's right,
deny
yeah.
that it's ugly.
It's all about performance.
Dan
Beauty
dislikes
is in
it
the eye
so
of the
much,
beholder.
he didn't even bother to have an opinion on that. Look at that. He says, I don't care one way or the other. It's so bad that he just has absolute apathy toward it. What's that tell you?
So speaking of like builders and modelers and cosplay and stuff, a couple of things happen in this episode. So first of all, people that have the N1s from Naboo, they're going to paint them so they look even cooler than they did before.
It wouldn't take
And then-
much. I mean, it was bright bumblebee yellow.
And then the other side of the coin is everybody that's been cosplaying as Din now has to get rid of their javelin. It's like, oh,
Sorry.
I just made this. I just got this ready to go.
Never invest in big props until the next season.
You're cosplaying a very specific version of Din for like 2 episodes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Dan says it is, quote, too swoopy for his taste.
too swoopy.
Swoopy.
What is swoopy?
Swoopy, Dan?
I'm with him.
Swoopy schmoopy.
It's ugly.
Swoopy.
It's ugly. It has no ass, first of all.
It's not ugly.
It's just it's all like front loaded.
It's all engine.
Yeah.
So I gotta love
It's all in the cell.
this whole sequence with this was so reminiscent of episode 1 with the pod racers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the engines that we saw in the pod racers are fundamentally these types of engines anyway. And the sound that we got, like when he fired it up, was like, oh my God, that's pod racer
Yeah,
sound
I have some
right
neighbors
there.
who have cars that sound like that.
And then, of course, as he's flying through Tatooine, he's flying the Boonta Eve track,
Right.
or at least a good part of the track.
Right.
I freaking, and for as much as I love episode 1, and I do, like, that was awesome. That was just hugely reminiscent of that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh, hey, that's it. When it started, I'm like, oh, that's part of the Boonta Eve track. Oh, he's still flying it. He's flying it more. Like, it was just really cool. I loved it.
Well, you know, when she first brought him into the shop there to show him this ship she's going to have for him, at first I'm thinking, it's not even a ship, it's a pod racer. I'm like, what is she doing here?
Like I said, I never actually verbalize anything when I'm watching anything, and twice in this sequence out loud. Number 1 was when he walked in and saved Pelimoto, and second was when she pulled back the tarp, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it might as well be. First, my reaction, I thought to myself, oh no, it's a Y-wing, because you see the engines kind of under the tarp, and I'm like, oh, don't give him a Y-wing, don't give him a Y-wing. And then she pulls it back, I'm like, oh, it's even worse.
I would have disintegrated if that had happened.
Oh my gosh.
So aside from the fact that Eric doesn't like the N1, which, you know, whatever.
At least it's not yellow.
At least it's not yellow. But also, what kind of a ship is this for a bounty hunter? It's a fighter.
It's horrible.
He needs to have something
can't
with
put
a cargo
anything
hold.
in
He
it.
needs to have a passenger area. I mean, yeah, exactly.
They got rid of the droid bay thing, the droid slot.
Right.
Put the little bubble up there so that when he decapitates people in the future for bounties, that the head can just bounce around in that little bubble as he's flying through.
You could fit a lot of heads in there.
Yeah.
Just bring them in cold.
It's pop-o-matic.
Have you ever played that Trouble board game? You push the little thing and the dice bounces.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody wants to see Grogu sitting up there, and that's going to be what it's for. But listen, this is a horrible. So.
And I'm thinking in there, you could fit like 4 or 5 heads. It looks,
Probably.
About the right. I don't know like what kind of dimension there is, what kind of space there is underneath, but it looks like at least 4 or 5 heads you could fit in.
How are you going to be a bounty hunter?
So.
And just have a dinky little starfighter like that. Okay, so
ask Zuckuss and Forlom. They don't fly anything with a cargo hold.
That's fair.
Okay.
G1A starfighter. Yep.
Yeah.
One of the best bounty hunters in the galaxy.
The IG-2000
They're
actually
solid
was a
on the
bigger
disintegrations
ship, though.
It's an aggressor.
The Houndstooth is a bigger ship. That's
a cargo
Dengar's
ship.
ship.
I'll give you that.
Slave 1 is a patrol craft. That's a bigger ship. And storytelling too, like Han Solo has the Millennium Falcon. Firefly has Serenity. Like in shows like this, the ship is the home base, right? That's it's almost a character on its own.
They live there. They keep their stuff there.
That's their house.
They give their friends rides.
They have planning
when their
sessions.
friends
That's where
are
you
moving.
keep your gear. I mean, the guy can hardly put rations in that thing. It's not meant for like that being your your RV. That's like your motorcycle, right?
Well, the other side of this though is that we all know that Boba Fett is never going to call Din and say, "Hey, dude, I'm moving. Can you bring your ship?" Like,
can't help you.
True.
No, he can't. Sorry, I can't carry anything in my ship. Sorry, dude. Can't help you.
One igloo cooler. Yeah. I tend to think what would be amazing is if he kind of behind the scenes goes and gets Gideon's cruiser and that becomes his home base and the N1 just becomes his starfighter for specific missions. I'll say
okay
again and again in this series, the Razor Crest proved itself a poor ship for a lot of situations that he found himself in. He nearly got blown up by another bounty hunter, Riot Mar, who had a starfighter, and just sort of right before he gets destroyed. He didn't.
Like any good fair. A-10, you can shoot it up as much as you want, but it keeps flying.
Except for
when someone cheated at the end.
That's what I'm saying. Just go get that cruiser. That's your home. How awesome would that be? What other bounty hunter has an Arquitens class light cruiser?
It's a little big.
Yeah, it's a good ship.
Got a lot of heads in that.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so yeah, we get the N1 Naboo starfighter. At least it's repainted. Peli dated a Jawa, which I still feel bad for the little guy. I mean, I don't like Jawas, but I mean that's it. I'm okay with Boba Fett going and slaughtering them, but making one of them date her is like dark. Just saying.
There's about as much on Jawa biology that we've gotten in 40-some years.
Yeah. And ironically, I think that was supposed to have made the Jawa look creepy and not Peli. But guess what? No.
Only in your mind, Eric. I mean, the rest of us...
Eric.
Okay.
Love finds a way.
The cryogenic density combustion booster is the same item. Oh, wait. I'll ask the trivia person here. Have you seen that before? That long pipe?
I did not. Yeah. That was in the trash compactor. They tried to brace it.
Yeah. Point to the belt. Point to the belt.
You definitely earned that one. I had no idea. I got that from New Rockstars, by the way. I'll shout out to them. Yeah, that's the same thing he used. Han Solo used to prop the walls up of the trash compactor.
Yeah.
So we learned a little bit about the Pikes. According to some human named the Major, I think, the Pikes are going to prove to be a big pain in the butt because they smuggle stuff all over the place, and I don't know. Tom was saying something about it last episode. I wasn't paying attention because.
What's interesting is it sounds like the Pikes, the way Peli makes it sound, the Pikes brought spice smuggling to Tatooine. So it sounds like whatever Jabba was doing has been ramped up, and maybe they've just overrun some boundaries that Jabba had set up.
Right.
It remains to be seen, but I think it's more misdirection for a final reveal at the end of the season. They want to build the Pikes up as the big bad, only to have them sort of be the middle boss.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely some intentional exposition there. Some foreshadowing of something for the future. Even law enforcement won't go near them. And by that, we apparently mean the New Republic Rangers.
The 2 X-Wings.
Yeah.
Patrolling Tatooine.
So, one last thing before we get out of here. I'm really kind of bummed that Din Djarin did not include the BD-8 droid as part of the deal for the ship. Because if ever he were going to have some like companion droid or something like that, or companion at all. I mean, Han Solo's got Chewbacca, Boba Fett's got Fennec Shand. Give Din Djarin a BD-8 or a BD droid.
Give him something to interact with, especially now that Grogu is gone.
Yeah, but he's not a droid kind of guy.
It'll be interesting to see. No. So, in fact, he doesn't even like droids.
But he liked this one.
But you never know.
He was pleasant with this one. He liked this one.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he wants to keep it around, though.
That he would actually take to a droid.
Oh, Fetmatic just brought something up in the chat room that I glanced over here in the show notes. Wizard, really? Like that was it was lame in episode 1. It was lame here.
For me.
And I don't care what George Lucas says. You cannot just repeat something over and over again and insist that makes it cool somehow. It was lame before. It's lame now.
I loved it. Yeah. No, it was awesome.
Well,
you know what it was?
I may be in the minority on some of the other points, but according to the internet, Tim, you're in the minority on this one.
Yeah, Tim, I got to side with Eric on this one.
You know what it was? It was Wizard.
Yes. That's synonymous for stupid, right? Yes, it was, Tim. It was a very Wizard line. Yeah.
It was fantastic. I loved it. I loved it.
So we get the test flight. We get the X-Wings. We get to see the return of Captain, what is it? Captain Carson something?
Teva. Yep.
Teva? Like seeing him again.
Yeah.
And then Fennec says, hey, you want a job? And Din Djarin says, yeah, but first I have to go say hello to my little friend. So that's where we leave the episode.
And make him a little tunic.
Well,
Yeah.
It's Parents' Weekend at Jedi Academy.
Yeah, right.
what I'm hoping we have here is I want to see them do a time skip. I don't want to see the visit with Grogu.
No, I don't either.
In Book of Boba Fett.
No, he needs to be season 3.
I want to see them skip that and get right back to.
They have to. We only have 2 episodes
storyline
left
here.
Yeah.
And then in Mando season 3, then they can go do that. That's totally fine. So let's just do a time skip and because like Lou said, this was an absolutely epically fantastic episode. In fact, it was pretty wizard.
No,
it's not gonna work. You can keep trying.
Yes, it was.
Try harder.
Keep it up.
But
keep it up. I'm with
try
you.
harder.
But this series needs to focus on Boba Fett and to take an entire episode on the Mandalorian, on Din, even though like not only was it just simply great, it was meaningful. There was a lot of seriously meaningful stuff. There was lore in this. There was all sorts of really great stuff that truly continues to propel this character forward. There was no fluff that was in it.
No.
Well,
This is one of the best episodes of The Mandalorian ever. It's just
it was great.
Book of Boba Fett.
It really was. It really was. But we have to get back to Boba
Definitely.
Fett.
And there was some bad lines, like we had, Peli talking about her dip swap, which I'm not sure.
Peli always has bad lines.
No, she doesn't.
She always has bad lines. Give me an episode where she had no bad lines.
It was fantastic.
This one.
You just cited one.
Well, the dip
It was
swap
your
thing,
example, Lou. You're the one who gave.
No.
You know how this game works.
No. I just don't want to hear her talk about her dip swap because I'm not sure what that is, and it's
and the furry Jawa.
Yeah.
You didn't. I mean,
it's solid innuendo.
It is solid innuendo. But I'm a little worried about it, and the fact that she's spitting fur out of her mouth. I'm like, no, I don't want to know about that either.
I just.
But it's awesome. It's awesome.
I would be okay not seeing her again for a long time. But so here's my theory on what this is all setting up. Din Djarin is not a leader. Boba Fett is becoming one. The storyline seems to be progressing toward him becoming a leader. At least that seems to be the intention. So,
with a lowercase L, maybe, but not a capital L.
I mean, somebody's got to take
He's
the
no
Dark
Jabba the
Saber.
Hutt.
I don't think it's going to end up being Bo-Katan. I think that they may be moving toward having Boba Fett take the Darksaber. And I think that's why they might have been foreshadowing some of the Darksaber lore in this episode of the Book of Boba Fett.
I don't
see... No, they very well
I don't
may.
see Boba taking the Darksaber. I don't...
He was the Mandalore in Legends for decades.
Yeah, for a long time.
He'd done it before. And Filoni has been progressive about taking what he can out of Legends, where it does not conflict with canon, and bringing it in. I don't know that. I mean, we haven't really seen Bo-Katan in live action much, but they're really trying to groom Boba Fett into being seen as a leader. So I think Din Djarin's going to lose the Darksaber. Fett's going to get it. Because I don't think he's going to kill Mando for it. So I don't know. That's where I think this is going.
I don't know. See, I seem to think that we're going to have Din taking this back into his own series, and we'll get the final disposition of the Darksaber in what he's going to be doing with Mandalore there, and Boba Fett's going to be his own thing, Underworld, in a greater context of not just on Mandalore, but in the universe in general.
I think this is going to be how they get Boba Fett into the resurrection of Mandalore. Like whenever that happens, whatever series it's in, we know we're going back to Mandalore. We have motivation for Bo-Katan. We have motivation now for Din Djarin. And I think if Boba ends up with the Darksaber and Tatooine maybe is a loss, maybe at the end of this, they do walk off into the sunset and they leave all this stuff behind for something bigger. I think that could be the motivation that brings him into reclaiming Mandalore, and then we get some big thing going on there, and that's where Thrawn comes in, because Thrawn is pulling all the strings with what's going on with Mandalore.
It's just that Boba Fett has never seemed to care about fitting into Mandalorian culture or being a Mandalorian.
No,
he is just Boba Fett. He's got his armor, and that's what he is.
I mean, there's not many Mandalorians left anyway, so.
No, but I don't think he's never showed any sign of being attuned to that. Whereas, Din is all about it. He wants to be Mandalorian. He loves the culture. He wants it back. He wants everybody.
Yeah, but I don't think he wants to lead at all. He doesn't want to run things.
No, but I think he's going to be. The best leaders are the ones that aren't there because they want to lead.
Reluctant.
Yeah.
But I think Boba Fett is looking to build a family as opposed to building power for himself.
Right. So he wouldn't want to have the power of Mandalore anyways. He's not. I don't see him doing that.
By your same argument, though, Bo-Katan is not the right person to lead Mandalore.
No.
Nor is Pax
Vizsla. I don't think she is either. No.
She's more of a leader than anyone else we've seen, though.
Right, but she's the one that wants it too much. So you don't want her in that role.
Aside from probably the armor.
Well, we're going to leave it there for this
episode.
The
armor was basically proving herself to be an extremist.
Yeah, I mean, they're both kind of extremists on different ends.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're going to leave it there for this episode of Force Chatter, but let us know in the comments what you think. Where do you think this is headed going forward? So, if you're listening to the audio podcast, head over to randomchatter.com/YouTube. Throw it down in the comments there. Let us know what you think is coming in the final 2 episodes of the book of the book of Boba Fett. Hit that subscribe and like button. Head over to randomchatter.com, subscribe to the other podcasts, and also join us in the Discord server, randomchatter.com/Discord. We typically have discussions going every Wednesday right after it airs. Yes, even at 3-something in the morning, which I don't get. I mean, I like the show, but I like sleep too. But yeah, head over and join us in the conversations, and let us know what you think in the next episode, which is coming in just a few days. Monday and Tuesday, and then boom, you're going to wake up and we're going to have the penultimate episode for this season, and we're going to see what happens from there. So
it's going to be
Wizard. It's going to be something, not Wizard. Instead, it'll be good. And we will talk about it next week here on Force Chatter, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will see you then. Until then, take care.